Jeremy drew the cup down and leaned his head back. Water soaked his wife-beater. Sweat had built on his forehead. The cheap lighter had fallen from his pocket and slid across the floor. I laughed. "You're like a damn virgin." He looked down at the mess of his shirt and started to laugh. "Must be some good shit." "I don't know," I said. "I think you scared me straight." He climbed to his feet and wiped the sweat from his brow, grabbing onto the counter. I shut off the running water. He took a step and his weight shifted. I nodded toward the 3-person table pushed up against the hallway wall. I went for the owl mug. "I'll bring it over." He took the seat closest to the hallway and rested his head in his hands. I grabbed the mug. I had smoked long enough to just go with the flow. The best was smoking with new people, gauging their tolerance. But Jeremy had never coughed before. I was sure his lungs were fully caked with resin. The heat of the coffee seeped through the mug, warming my palms. I set it down and went back for the milk. "What's this?" he said, picking up the mug. "What? Water?" "Water?" I grabbed the milk and walked back over. He lifted his head, tilting the cup. The color had washed out of his cheeks. His eyes were wide, staring at me. "That shit must have been good. It can't be water." I slid the carton on the table, looking into the mug. The liquid was clear. Can't be. I took it to the sink and dumped it. It was steaming water. I ran over to the other mug. No. There was a deep brown coffee in it, and still an inch of settled coffee in the bottom of the pot. Jeremy stood up. The chair screeched as it dug into the floor. His steps were silent, but I could sense him come up behind me, peering over my shoulder. I cupped my hands around the mug. The coffee inside swirled and the brown color began to fade clear. I brought the cup closer. It was water. Water. I dropped it. It hit the floor. The handle cracked off. Clear liquid splashed out. Jeremy widened his eyes, trying to see the image more clearly. "What the?" His expression went blank and he headed toward the hallway. "Jeremy," I said. He stopped beside the table. "Dad." He grabbed the milk carton and walked toward me, holding it out, shoving it into my arms. I didn't want to take it, but I know if I didn't, he'd let it fall to the floor. Its weight sank in my arms. He took it and poured it out onto the floor. It was water. Water. I couldn't breathe. He looked at me like he had never met me before, stepping back, bumping into the table. I looked down at my hands. They were shaking. I don't understand. How? I stared past my fingertips at the puddle. "Jeremy?" He sat in the chair, sliding the half-spent carton beside him on the table. "Dad?" His head shook like he was trying to dislodge thoughts he didn't want. "It'll be okay." I didn't believe that. I could tell he didn't either. I wanted to scream at him in that moment, let out the fear that was beginning to suffocate me. But this wasn't his fault. He started to cough, cupping his mouth with his hand and bracing his head with the other. I slid in the seat across from him, pushing the milk carton toward him. He took it, still hacking, and pressed it to his lips. Water spit from his lips and his voice box squeaked as he swallowed. He slammed it on the table and coughed all over the top of it. Blood sprayed like an exploded paintball